Welcome to Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. Each week, the NI Bullpen will be covering the world of comics, talking to creators, deep diving into some fantastic stories, and much more. Now let's hand it over to the team and turn a page.
And what is going on, everyone? Is Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you are tuned into the Nerd Initiative Network for another edition of Turn a Page, the official comic book club of the Nerd Initiative Comic Bullpen. What is going on? I'm Ken M. You know me as the host of the ODPH podcast, but I'm also Nerd Initiative's comics editor-in-chief. Ordinarily, he'd be to my right, your left, but he's in the diagonal square underneath me here, so I will let him take it away from the Fortress of Awesomeness, as I believe he calls it.
The Sanctum of Awesome coming at you live and direct. Yes, the Megazord happens to have some battle damage right now, so I'm pulling this one from home. I am off the cuff Tom, Nerd Initiative Pop Culture Connoisseur. As always, a pleasure.
Absolutely. And joining us, our other co-host, you know him as one half of the dynamic duo of Drafts and Dialogue, bringing you that pop culture knowledge you need to know each and every week. It's Matt from Hops Geeks News.
What's up? It's like the Brady Bunch, right? We're all looking in every box, looking down. It's like all the lights are up. Wasn't there like a game show too at one point that kind of did that same thing? That's how it feels.
Hollywood Squares.
Yeah,
Hollywood
yeah.
Squares.
I'll take Paul in the block.
That's what it feels like. It's awesome. And we
Goldberg in the center.
Yes. And joining us on this very special edition of Turn a Page is a fantastic writer who has 3 books out right now at the comic shops you absolutely have to have in your collection. And if you don't, by the end of this episode, you click on that QR code at the corner of the screen, find your local comic shops, go down there and make sure you add these titles to your collection. You know his work from such titles as The Flash, Detective Comics, Injustice, Chicken Devil, and many, many others. Please welcome to the show the writer of MIDLIFE, co-writer of No One, and the writer of Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong, the one and only BRIAN Buccellato. Brian, what is going on?
Hello, happy to be here. Happy to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming through. And like we say, you have 3 amazing books at the comic shops right now. They're absolutely crushing it. But the one that I resonate to the most, the one I think more fans need to have in their collection and be talking about is MIDLIFE, or How to Be a Hero at 50. This is a book that is a vibe all itself. It is one that stands out from everything else going on. So, Brian, if nobody's not too familiar with this book, let's break it down. What is MIDLIFE all about?
So MIDLIFE is about a legacy firefighter, a guy who is turning 50 when the first issue starts. His father was like this hero firefighter who died in the line of duty, and so he felt like he had to live in his father's footsteps. He joins LAFT, but one thing is he's deathly afraid of fire. So you fast forward 25 years, and he's lived this sort of unremarkable life. And feels all this shame because he's been a desk jockey for 25 years and he hasn't lived up to his father's legacy. On his 50th birthday, he finds out his second wife is pregnant and he's going to be a father again at the age of 50, which is somewhat autobiographical. That drives him towards an act of courage where he runs into a fire to save a dog and he finds out that he is fireproof. And from there, he feels like this is his chance to become a hero and live up to his father's legacy. So it's literally How to Be a Hero at 50.
Dang.
It's an amazing... Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just saying, dang, yeah. I think like Ken said, it's something that we can kind of resonate with. I know Brian's a dad and I know myself as a dad. I see a lot of, you kind of get stuck. Like your life is serving your kids and you kind of get stuck in the, well, what am I doing for either yourself, the greater good kind of things. I mean, it's easy for you. You're writing some amazing comic books. But not everybody feels like they're doing that. A lot of people just get stuck in these ruts. So I think for a lot of people, it's something they could easily resonate with, right? I mean, and then firefighters are one of those unsung heroes. Don't really get the recognition they always deserve. So I think twofolds, you did 2 really amazing things with this book right off the bat, is connecting with a greater general audience there who maybe they're feeling superhero burnout, but if you are, this one is just the average man finding out he's spectacular. And I think people should really be picking this up.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I mean, if Radiant Black is the millennial superhero, then Midlife is the Gen X superhero.
Yes.
I absolutely fully believe that because, like I say, it's just got such a unique vibe to it, and especially too about going into like how did the whole creative process for this come about and putting together a creative team for this?
I met Spawn through Kyle Higgins, who I just previously mentioned, as someone on a couple other projects that I was putting together, and so when what fed into this one was my experience at Aftershock doing Chicken Devil, which was also somewhat biographical in that it was a middle-aged guy who is sort of like put in the position of the Punisher. He's a regular dude who makes really good hot chicken. His partner gets involved with the mob, and the mob blows up a boat with his family on it. And so he has to go out on this sort of revenge kick, but he's never been in the army. He doesn't know how to shoot a gun. And so it was literally me saying, like, how would I, Brian, get revenge? How would I become the Punisher if someone killed my family, if the mob killed my family? And so that was like me diving into like a part of myself that's, there's a lot of absurdity. It's a funny book. It's like bloody, it's gory, like he fails upward. It's, and it's called Chicken Devil because he wears the mascot suit for his restaurant, which is a chicken in a devil suit because it's hot chicken. And so it's just like this crazy thing, but it really sort of tapped into something I hadn't done previously. Like my creator-owned books were more like horror-based and like darker, serious things. And of course, the comic stuff, Injustice, all that stuff. You find moments where you can put in like the community side of your life or a little bit of yourself in, but it's not the same as sort of just tapping into who you are as a person. Like I'm way more goofy and absurd, I think, than you would think you're reading Injustice or a horror book, So, so that was a great experience. I loved it so much that I was like, I have to repeat this experience. And so my brother-in-law, my wife's sister's husband works. He's a firefighter, and he was going to have a kid at 50, and I had already had a kid at 50, and so it's something just sparked out of that, and I was like,
wait a second, you're 50? You had a kid at 50? You look like you're like 35, dude. Wait a second.
53.
Ain't no way. I don't believe
Holy.
it. No way. Pull out the birth certificate. What? No way, dude.
So I know you guys know Kyle. His favorite game in the world to play is guess how old Brian is. To people that don't know me.
You'd lose. You would win the money every time. There was no way.
Well,
wow.
I'm half Puerto Rican, right? My mom's Puerto Rican, so I got like those good genes, and I just look like, she's always looked way younger than she is, and so I'm thankful that I got some of that,
Drinking from the fountain of youth, man. Seriously, that is awesome. Wow, I had to sit there for a second, like, did I hear this right? No way.
Yeah, no, I've got a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 23-year-old. So yeah.
So I can kind of somewhat like as my mother's parents, they had 2 more kids. One when my mother-in-law was 41, and the other one she was 43. So they kind of I got to see some of that aspect of what you're talking about too. But man, like, didn't mean to detract there for a second. That just blows me away. It's crazy. But speaking, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, that like this all kind of brings everything you said. Having a kid at 50 and your brother-in-law having just had a kid. Continue, please, from there.
Yeah, no, it's just first of all, I'm Gen X, right? So like, we're like inherently like melancholy and reflective. I think from the age of like 5. I don't know, that's just a trait I think of my generation. But like looking back at your life and. No matter where you are along this path, like I think you always look back at it and say, did I do enough? Did I try hard enough? Am I where I wanted to be? And I think people tend to judge themselves pretty harshly. So that was really the start of the story about finding like a family drama with this one genre twist and just running with it. And so it's heartfelt, but I think it's also it's light and serious at the same time because it's like there's a suspension of disbelief when you add superpowers to any story. So like on some level you have to do that,
Right.
So
What was this like then, being kind of creative focused? Because there are a lot of people might know your work, like Ken said, The Flash or, Detective Comics, getting to kind of create your own character and playing your own universe. What is that like for you, taking a step back from those bigger issues to something you have more control over?
Well, I mean, they feed two different sides of like the creative part of you and the ego part of you. Because let's be serious. Anybody who wants to write has an ego because they feel like they have something to say that other people should listen to or read or hear. So there is an ego component to it. And so when you get to write, Flash or Superman, Batman, these characters, these iconic, you know, 75, 80-year-old characters,
Yeah.
like you're feeding the child in you that it's like, wow, I'm actually getting to take part in this huge, long, illustrious history. And so that feeds, you in a certain way. But what it doesn't feed is the sort of ownership. Like it's mine, it's my world. I get to be the one who has the final say over everything. Because when you have an Image book, you're your own boss. Image doesn't sort of interfere in terms of the creative side of things. And so like you really are able to put it out there for better or for worse. If people like it, great. If they don't, well, you gave it your best shot. So it's two totally different but great opportunities that I think any writer would be really, really thankful to experience.
Now, you were touching on the whole generational thing. What's interesting that, with the four of us all right here, out of the three of us, because you've already, gave it away, Ken being the oldest is technically a Gen Xer. All right. I am a millennial on the X side, heavy on the X side, and Matt's the wee one. So, having that said, one thing I really liked about reading Midlife is the fact that you do these throwbacks. I mean, issue 1, bat nips right there. It's so nice to finally get a writer that is writing to us, not for us, but to us, that we have these cultural references that we can go bat nips of all things. How important was that for you to put in those very particular musical and cultural references? And then on top of that, this being creator owned and having written for so many other projects, what was it like designing the character?
Yeah, the designing of the character I'll handle first. It was with in concert with Stefano Simeone, who's an amazing artist. I just love everything that he does. It was just a lot of conversations with him, and then letting him take a stab at it. The one piece of reference I gave him was I found online like an old weird firefighter helmet thing that almost looked like a deep sea thing, but it was a historical firefighter type helmet, and so that's what his helmet is. And the rest, it was just like I was like, in story, the costume is built by his friend who creates costumes for superheroes. So it was like do that version. What's the MCU, like superhero or WB whatever so that's really how that went. What was the first part of the question?
Cultural references and writing.
Culture. Okay. Yeah. So I think I was writing to myself. You know what I mean? Like. I wasn't writing for, I wasn't preaching to, I was just writing something that felt like an authentic experience for me so that the hope is in turn, there's other people out there who identify with that and they see either the specific appeal or the universal appeal. Because you don't have to be, my age, or Ken's age, right, to feel those things. I think some of the things that he's going through, universal, but the specificity, and this is something that I learned as a writer, like writing to an audience or trying to be too broad or trying to, write to too many people is less remarkable. It's less memorable. It doesn't resonate. I think specificity is actually the key to great writing and to finding people who respond to your material. I think you have to know who you are and what you have to say and understand, what you have to say that, is genuine and heartfelt, and hope that you find the audience for that. So for me, just, pulling things that I know, like, I don't know if you guys picked up on that, but the flashback where you see you see him as a kid in the dining room with his mom and his friends. That's the living room from E.T.
Oh, wow.
If you go back and you look at it with the chandelier and the whole thing,
Oh my God, yeah.
I'm pulling
That's
this up
the
right
limit for
now.
me.
We'll be right back.
It's a little Easter eggs like that, like I would send all kinds of reference to Stefano just because it's fun for me to do that. And if anyone sees it, the outside of the house, see if you recognize what the outside of the house is.
Triangular table. Okay.
Oh, no.
Outside of the house. I'm looking at it right now. I'm in 1986.
I see, like, while Tom's figuring that out, I think one of my favorite references you dropped was the whole like Blade Marvel debate. You're like, I don't want to work on this trash Blade. It's just another crappy Marvel. And then it's the one movie that like obviously kind of saved the MCU today. It's like those kind of throwbacks that's what got me hooked instantly.
Is that Back to the Future?
No, so it's not fair because it's not from '86. It's from the early '90s.
Full House. I don't know.
And it's John Connor's.
Dude, man.
I'm gonna have to go reread this tonight.
There are a couple people who actually picked up on that. But, stuff like that's is definitely like fun to do. Okay, I got a cat walking across me here.
Perfectly okay in my book. Hello, handsome.
Her name is Little Kitty because she's a very little kitty. I'm sorry, I keep getting distracted. Where are we now?
We're
talking about. No, we're talking just about the
moments.
Easter eggs you're putting in. Yeah, like I say, talking about the John Connor house and just the other elements you're adding into it, especially when you do those throwbacks. Because like for me, is like it resonates so much that like now I have to go back and reread because now I'm like I thought that was it, but I'm like not sure. And it's just something about taking that time period and making it relevant today without feeling dated. Because like I say, even though it's a flashback, the themes still resonate, and that even carries to Ruben's character now. That obviously dealing with living in his father's shadow, trying to emerge as whatever hero he's going to be. And then obviously the outside forces coming into play, which after issue number 4, there was a little bit of drama that, there was a certain pair that was trying to track him down a little bit and, see what's going on with Mr. Midlife.
Maroon suits, as they call them. Yeah.
Yes. Like I say, when you start seeing that, now he's getting thrown into a world that he doesn't really know about and kind of walking through that journey too. It's just something that no matter what your age is, the superhero concept is just timeless, wouldn't you say?
I think it is. I think, that there's something very, very American, very childhood, very like primal about superheroes. I think that's why, they still exist, even though, I know the publishing as a medium, has taken some hits over the years, especially with, new generations and the different way they consume entertainment. But like, it's just a part of us. Like it taps into that childlike wonder. And nothing to me encapsulates that more than whenever I see a picture of Christopher Reeve as Superman. Like that to me is the moment in my head, So I think that it's there in a lot of us, and so I don't think it's that hard to tap into it and to try to create from that and have people, like you guys, thankfully respond to it.
Well, I think it's one of those things too. Like as a kid, you talk about there's something just natural. We want to, as kids, we're so full of imagination. This is before life, beats you down in a way, right? Metaphorically, you're so full of wonder. You want to save the world, and so I think that's why like there's something just so magical about superheroes. Being like, wow. I read this thing that was basically kids fall in love with dinosaurs first because it's the first thing they see that are bigger than their parents. And I also feel in a way superheroes are kind of like that because as kids, we always view our parents as these heroes, whereas superheroes, they're larger than life. And it's something that will resonate and sticks with a lot of us. It sticks with me. I mean, we all are here today because we love superheroes, at our core. So it's always really interesting.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, MCU is on the, maybe they're not doing as well as they did in the first 10 years, but like, whenever a good superhero movie comes out, people go to it. I mean, Spider-Verse movies, probably, the best movie in the last few years, that's a superhero movie. Guardians 3 was good. Like, if the movies are good, people will come out to them.
Oh, without a doubt, for sure.
Yeah, if the story is good, people always turn out for it. And that's the one great thing with Midlife too, is it can connect even with younger readers and older readers like myself. Like there's just something in there for everybody because, like I say, the artwork is phenomenal. It feels very new, and then the story is very relatable. And then as it's going on for, obviously this is a regular series and we're going into, the end of the first arc, so to speak. Is there anything you can kind of elaborate about what's going to happen?
He's going to get some closure on some things. I think there's some questions that are outstanding in his life that are sort of at the core of some of his troubles emotionally. Like, I don't want to give away too much, but I think there will be some closure. I think part of that is also because I know Stefano has other other commitments, and the trade's going to come out, so it'll be a little while before we continue on with it. That's part of the sort of the new world order with comics these days. Like comics that can continue month to month. It's really, really, really hard if you're not big too. It's darn near impossible. So I think I wanted to finish the first arc with the sense of a not the end of the story, but the end of a chapter. So I think that hopefully I've earned that in the story, and when people read it, they'll feel satisfied. But obviously, there's more to come.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited to see where this is all going. Like I say, ever since it's come out, it's been one that's been on my pull list, and we've been reviewing it between myself and Marty Stoked, who's in the chat there, and like we go back and forth about it too. It's just like how good this is, and just how it's a story that more people need to read, in my opinion, because like I say, it defies age, which I know is kind of with the tagline too, and it just proves that anybody can be a superhero no matter what, as long as you have the theme and the belief behind it. And I think that's a message that needs to be related in this day and age.
Yeah, I mean, oddly, it's hopeful. It's a hopeful book. Like he's a good person. I know it's like that may not be the sexiest, like log line for a hero, but he's a good person. He has a good heart, and he's just trying to do what he thinks is best. And
let's remember that there's a whole genre of the fair of the species that likes the dad bod. So let's,
hey, dad bods are back in, man. All right.
Just saying, especially the ones that wear Duncan.
That's right. I got that. I bought the jacket. But what's funny is you mentioned this, and now I've read two really, really creator-owned books from the same company now, and I think that you guys have a niche. I think there's a niche out there that is untapped, and it's like this everyday man becoming hero, because we have Midlife, and then there was another one from the Schlub was another one, and these two stories are very like these everyday men, and they're just stories that I hope catch on, especially Midlife, because I think again a lot of people can resonate that, especially in the modern world where we're all kind of right now looking for that hero, right? We're out there, and just a lot of us, especially as dads, carry that weight. So I'm really, really hoping it finds, you know what, Bradley? Me too, man. Me too. All right.
Yeah, no shame. No shame, Bradley.
There's no shame in the dad bod.
Be rad. Now, with all this creator stuff that's going on, you have a lot of fantastic stories out there. Coincidentally, you also have No One. So tell us about No One. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that have been reading stuff in, the massive verse, and what if they got to catch up with it? That's a funny comment in the thing. Sorry, threw me off.
Yeah, No One is a different corner of the Masterverse. So, the different titles, you don't necessarily have to read them together just because like they operate in different cities, and it's all by design. No One is what do I call it? I like to call it sort of The Wire meets like Gotham Central with a vigilante hero. It's a really ambitious, big swing. Maybe a little bit of Silence of the Lambs. There's a serial killer. It's a city. It's a city with that's struggling with a serial killer who is targeting powerful, corrupt people, and a vigilante comes into the picture to try and stop what's going on. And part of the problem is that this vigilante started it by being sort of like an anonymous with teeth by doxing and outing these corrupt, powerful people and demanding that they be held accountable. Well, they weren't held accountable by the justice system in the city. It's in Pittsburgh. And so what happens is somebody takes it upon themselves to start killing these people, and it becomes like this serial killer who sort of takes over the city for 12 months. So the story takes place over 12 months. and it's very dense. It revolves around the newspaper and these two reporters who are in charge of doing a true crime in-world podcast, trying to identify who the hero is, called No One. And we actually did the podcast. So there's 10 episodes that when you buy the comic book, when you finish reading the comic book, there's a QR code, and you can go to the podcast, and it's Patton Oswalt and Rachel Lee Cook are the two leads, and they are basically doing giving added value to the story by, this is their podcast. They're trying to find out who is No One. But there's all these other factors, and they find that it's very difficult to find any kind of truth in this sort of like corrupt society with all these different agendas. You've got the police department, you got the vigilante, you have an ex-cop whose son is responsible for some of the killing. It's like a really dense, rich world that is not necessarily an easy read, but I think it's a rewarding read. And it also has like ARG elements. There's newspaper articles, and there are other things that like all add value to this sort of like a cross media, multi-platform experience.
Now, when you guys are planning this one out, I'm sorry, Ken, you wanna?
No, I was going to say, no, Tom, you take it, because I got a question I've been meaning to ask, so it's okay. Involving No One.
So when you were figuring out this whole multimedia experience that you wanted to do with No One, what was it like putting out like the sides, or did you just call up a friend and say, "Hey, has anybody got Ratatouille and Josie from Josie and the Pussycats online?" Just so there's your cultural reference.
That's all Kyle. Very nice, very nice. That's all Kyle. Like he's been doing a lot of cons. I stepped away from comics for a number of years, and in that time, like I swear, he met everybody that was ever at a convention, and he just forged a lot of relationships. And so he had a deep pool of people that he knew personally that he can pull from. And so that's how we got people into Todd Stashwick is in there, and he was on the Star Trek show, the Strange New World.
Great job, amazing job on that character. Excuse me.
Yeah, and there's Power Rangers in our cast. So like there's a lot going on there. And the hardest part about it, I mean, this is probably the most ambitious undertaking we've ever had for a comic book. Like we worked on a document for a year before we did page one on the first issue. Like I have like 100-page document slides like of all this information. There's so
you have the Bible of it.
It's a Bible, but it's like it's on Google Slides, so it's a Bible this way.
Oh, so we have the PowerPoint. See, that's showing his age. He's a Gen Xer. I got a PowerPoint. Can we convert it to PDF?
I think you can.
Go ahead.
So my one question then I gotta just ask. All right, so I'll ask my fan question first. Has No One, the identity? Obviously, we don't know yet. Is it a character that we've seen yet in the comic?
Ooh. Yes.
Can you at least say that?
Oh,
yes.
He did say
yes.
Okay.
Answer yes.
All right, because I've gone back and forth about who my guess is, about who it is, and it's like the only person I've ruled out is Teddy. I don't think it's Teddy by any stretch of the imagination.
Next issue, it's Teddy.
Yeah, it's going to be Teddy, and we're going to circle back to this. He's going to be laughing like, "You idiot."
Yeah, I can't see it be Teddy.
Teddy. I can safely say it's not Teddy. Also, I don't want to lead you guys astray.
Okay, but obviously you've written some fantastic detective stories and detective comics, and now being creator owned, or going in with this, like how have you described like the differences in this? Like, have you said like I really wanted to do this with Batman, but I couldn't, but now I can really run with this with No One?
Yeah, I mean, I think, my run on Detective with Francis, I wrote that with him. He drew it and I colored it. It started out as this really great experience because we were in our own little corner of the Bat universe in the New 52, and we were allowed to do detective stories. And then there was the big event where James Gordon becomes Batman.
Yeah.
And so we were sort of forced into that, and it kind of took the steam out of what we were doing. So I did always feel like, we didn't finish our run because we got pushed into something, and then that version of Batman with Gordon wasn't something that appealed to Francis and I anymore. So I always felt like there was stuff on the table. But honestly, like half of it is just to have the arrogance to think that we can try to recreate The Wire in a comic book. I don't know if you guys have seen the show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
The Wire.
Oh, it has that feel.
Absolutely.
The greatest show of all time.
Yes.
Definitely top for those who haven't seen it. But yeah,
How
I mean,
it
it
did not
was
win an
really
Emmy
tough.
is beyond me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
it
I
was
say,
up against
that show
finals every
never
year,
won.
though, wasn't it? Like, yeah.
Yeah, but like one year they should just gave it to him. Like The Wire
For
is
handing
just
Leo
so good.
Oscars for his worst movies, The Wire should have won something, in my opinion. But
Yeah, I mean, Better Call Saul never won anything, right?
that's also true. Yeah, they were nominated for a
45
ton.
nominations
Yeah,
and
and not a
0.
single win. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes like if you're not in the zeitgeist, you know, like in the right way, you just don't
That's
get it.
true.
But that's fine. Like,
It's like growing up during the Tom Brady era. He was the only one that ever win. And how many great quarterbacks like Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers? Like,
Right.
I'm not bitter at all.
what about Eli Manning, bro? What about
Yeah.
got 2 rings?
He was our only savior. Gosh.
This is true. God bless
2-0,
him.
baby. 2-0 against Tom.
God bless him. You know what?
Yeah.
Can't even hate against that.
No, you can't. But with 2 issues left, though, obviously there's a lot of moving parts still left to be had. And just going in with this, obviously, like you touched upon, no one is a whole different kind of promotion for this. And especially doing this with a podcast companion piece, which is, like I say, it adds so much to the story, too. In with this, like, do you think this is like the next evolution of comic book, like promotion and storytelling?
I mean, it's not cheap to do, so I don't know. You know, I mean, not unless it's part of a bigger play. You know, I think that I think it could be. I think looking at entertainment and media in this way, I think Kyle's super smart and always has one eye on figuring it out. You know, he's a millennial, so maybe he's more on the pulse. You know, but I think it's a really good way to look at entertainment. You know, how can we maximize the experience? I mean, everyone's going crazy about the Apple the Apple thing.
Oh,
I haven't
yeah.
seen it yet,
Yeah.
but you know, I'm sure that's going to open up avenues for ways to communicate, you know, to experience entertainment. So I don't know, man.
It is.
Yeah,
it-
'cause-
you, I was just going to say, I think you see a lot more people, like a lot bigger creators, like a lot of name recognition people like yourself going more towards these creator owned things, which I think is starting to catch a lot of people's attention. So I think it's going to be one of those, like, maybe it's not now, like you said, it's opening doors, and every pioneer starts somewhere. And I think that's what you guys are doing right now. And it's awesome because we're going to be able to eventually look back and be like, this moment is when it all started. Issues like issues like Midlife.
Sure. I mean, one can hope, right? I think we do it because we love the process. Like I write because I love it, right? Like, you know, I'm just super fortunate that I actually get to support my family doing what I love. You know, like I actually love writing. You know, it took me a long time to learn how to write. It took me probably 8 to 10 years to be good at it, you know, before I ever got my first chance. So like I wrote a lot for free. It's nicer to write stuff and then get money at the end.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, I would do it even if I didn't, you know, even if I wasn't making money. So I think that, you know, I think you like to think that shows in your work, like your passion for the thing you're doing, you know.
Oh, I think it definitely does, especially for, you know, something like Midlife and Ruben. And now kind of going from that creator focus back to the man, if you will. We have another really big book that you're doing right now, which is Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong, which I am an absolute sucker for. Like I almost feel like when you're writing for yourself in Midlife, I feel like you're writing for me in this book. The second I picked it up, man, how did this production come about? Because Godzilla and Kong are like next to, you know, superheroes, they're the hottest thing right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, its existence has nothing to do with me. Ben Abernathy, who was editor at DC at the time, and Robert Mackin, who runs the side of Legendary, they just started talking. And they were like, "We should do a team up." And you know, I mean, what started out as probably like a big lawyer thing because, you know, lots of rights issues. Toho, you know, owns the rights to Godzilla, and you know all those things, you know. they worked it out, and they got a green light to go ahead and make a series. And I was the lucky son of a bitch that they asked first. So
Now that you've
really
already started to answer the question I was going to go for, what is it like having all these houses all together? You know, it's like, hey, here's my story. No, Godzilla doesn't do that. You know, where like I see you playing in the DC sandbox and you're pulling out like all the great toys. We get that. But how
Sure.
or do you know, one thing is with a lot of these smaller series right now, like we're used to a lot of series having 5 issues each, you know.
Sure.
And I know that this one's getting ran out to 7. And I can say with what everything you've got out right now, I appreciate the fact that you're pacing, you know, that you're not just slamming it all in one issue. I mean, I'm not saying things didn't happen in 1 and 2, but how is it for you having to pace yourself and work within the lines that the different companies have given you, Universal and Toho?
It's been remarkably easy. Like there are certain things that they have like certain lines, like things with Godzilla, like Superman can't pick him up and fly him somewhere, right? Like they just won't allow that. Or I was hoping to use some other monsters that contractually we couldn't use because it wasn't in the contract. So there's things like that I had to like make pivots because of that, because of branding issues or legal issues. But like in terms of like just being able to go out and do what I want, it's shocking how smooth it's gone, how easy it's gone. Like there's some things that we do, like I'm surprised they're like, really? You guys, where's the note? I can do this? Okay. All right. Like we did some crazy things. Like issue 7, I turned the script in and I was like, I think I went overboard. Like this is crazy. This is a crazy issue. Like
how can you go overboard with everything you're writing there? Is there really overboard?
Well, I say it's overboard because like I feel like part of the idea was 30 pages an issue to give the artist the chance to do the scale and the scope, and then by like issue 6 and 7, like rather than having like a bunch of like splash pages or 2 and 3 panel pages, they're 5 and 6. So like in some ways, like sorry to Christian, but I built up so many different threads and so many characters. I don't know why no one told me to throw that many characters into it. I just did it.
You're good.
Like, what?
Listen, I'm down for more. I mean, I want to see how crazy this can get, because honestly, it's really impressive the amount of villains you have, and then you've got there's so many different angles, and somehow it's working extremely smooth and seamless. And I think that's a testament to your writing.
I
it's
got
amazing.
my comp yesterday for issue.
Oh man,
5.
look at that. That's beautiful.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
I could spoil. You want a spoiler? Let's see if I can.
Absolutely, I will never turn.
I mean,
especially for this, I love this story so much.
Well, first of all, guess what reference I gave him for this right here?
Jaws.
Yep.
Yes.
Not that clear, but yeah, I was like, do this.
But it's funny, I was one of your other Massiverse writers who has worked on certain other crossovers that Ken absolutely knows which one I'm talking about. Has kind of gotten. There is an interview floating around with him and he's like, "You're gonna get me in trouble," because I called him out and said, "Yo, who pigeonholed you into this particular thread that you had to stick to?" And he's like, "You can't say that, Tom." I said, I did. That's why my name is off the cuff.
Yeah, but I think, like, look, I've done IP before. I've done like licensing things, and sometimes they put you in the box. Like I did the Kong graphic novel that takes place between Godzilla versus Kong and Godzilla, X Hunted, Kong Haunted, the new one.
Right.
And there were a lot of constraints because it had to fit slot exactly in between 2 movies without revealing a bunch of stuff. Like, I got to see the movie, and there's some crazy, awesome shit that happens in the new movie. But like, I can't refer to any of that because it takes place, right there. So that does happen. But in this case, in Elseworlds, I was allowed to pick. Like Ben just was like, "Go for it," Like once I turned to my outline, like literally it was little things, little tiny things. So like, it was amazing. The best experience I ever had working on licensed characters, working on DC. Like, it was wild. Wow.
Who's the one character so far that you were like, there's no way in hell they're gonna let me get this character,
Okay,
but I
hold
got
on.
them.
What does that
Oh,
look like on Grodd? On
it's
Grodd's
Planet of the
helmet?
Apes. Oh,
That's a
Rhino?
kryptonite horn.
Yeah, Kryptonite Horn.
Yeah, Kryptonite Horn.
That's right. That's my
Yo!
next. That's my one spoiler. So here you go. There you go.
Oh man,
I can't look at it. I want to look at it.
that's amazing.
Oh,
That's-
that's awesome.
We're getting
That's my
spoiled
spoiler
tonight,
for
folks.
you.
If you're not in here on this stream right now, man,
Oh goodness.
he just
I
had to
don't-
be there. Oh. But
Yeah. There was a question coming. Sorry.
oh no, I was saying like, who's the one character that you're like, there's no way on this planet they're gonna let me throw this person or creature or whatever in here, and they're like, sure, and you were like, wait, what? Is there anyone?
There's not that they wouldn't let me do it. Like there's a couple choices I made with characters and their powers and stuff that I was very surprised that they let me do. Like I wish I could spoil. Like when we're offline, if you want me to spoil, I'll tell you stuff. But like I can't. I can't. I don't want to spoil it because they're gonna make a big announcement on this one thing I'm thinking of,
Oh,
and then the other thing I'm thinking of is the ending, like like it's solving the crime kind of thing. So I don't want to.
Can I put an idea in your head?
Sure.
Okay, if you do get a part 2 with this, kaiju size crypto.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's very good.
man.
That would be amazing.
Look at that. I mean, look at the cover, folks. If you're not reading this story, like I know it's easy like for me to gush, and it's just I'm simple. I love kaijus. I love monsters. Read this. More importantly, though, like if this is what brings you into Brian's, work, then please make sure you're also picking up No One. Make sure you're picking up Midlife, because if you think that's good, just see what he can do with his own characters and the things that he gets to play in his sandbox. And man, it's really incredible having read all of these. You're killing it, man. Like I don't know
Thanks,
even
man.
say it. Like you're absolutely. I'm glad you said you took a break, and I'm glad you came back to comic books for fans like myself or fans like Ken and Tom. Like we just got to say thank you for coming back and making that choice.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I mean, it's not always easy, right? Like when you leave, people forget about you on both sides of the aisle. The consumers of the material and the people who have the jobs. So it's not always easy, but I do wish that I probably had stuck around, and kept a more solid foot in. What had happened was when I was in the tail end of Injustice, I got into the Universal Feature Writers Program, which is this paid program, where you wrote 2 scripts for Universal. You were an employee. You learned sort of feature film development from the studio side, and because they saw that I was working for Warner Brothers on paper, they told me I had to quit my comics if I was going to accept the Universal.
Oh man.
Oh man.
And so I took that as like the sign. Okay, well, I guess maybe now I'm going to be the movie guy, And it was a great experience. I met a lot of people, I considered success, and had opportunities. But like it kind of pushed me away from comics. And when you're doing the grind of film and television, like even if they pay you for you sell something and you option it, or you get the chance to be paid to write a feature or a pilot or whatever, the odds of it ever coming out is very, very slim. Like,
Oh yeah.
Just super, super slim. Like I was in a TV incubator in 2019, got paid good money. At least I felt it was like it was good money to develop a show, and they never even took the show out. That there was 8 of us. We all were like diverse voices. This great experience. Create your own show. Put your stamp on it. And then they because whatever the venture said, they decided not to even try to sell the show. And it's like,
That's
you
wild.
can only do that so many times before you're like, well, if I go back to comics, at least even if it's only 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 people reading it, somebody's experiencing what you're creating. That's the hardest part about the industry, like creating things that nobody ever gets to see or experience on any level. So doing it in comics, it's just like there's nothing like it. I've been fortunate enough to have 2 mediocre, low budget movies made in the past couple of years for Paramount, and those experiences are great. but there's so many choices that are made that are not mine. And they make, you write the script, and then they make the movie, and they edit the movie. So like, the amount of control you have of comics is unparalleled.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah, you have a lot more. I mean, sometimes we always have a boss, but I definitely feel like in TV and movies, you have less creative control versus comic books, which, like you mentioned, it's very easy to get burned out on.
Yeah, and there's so much money at stake. Like, of course, and when you're talking millions of dollars being spent in a direction, like, of course, you're not going to have a say. Like, it's hard to be an author in life and be successful, and especially in this age where those movies just don't get made because they don't have a life in the way that they used to on video.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to just think about that. But even with comics, especially creator owned, I mean, you really have nothing holding you back from really doing a crazy idea. And then when you have to work, and like I say, with movies and TVs, there's just more people involved because of the business side of things more so than the creative side. And then going into this, like I say, with the 3 books that we just talked about now, I mean, you can tell by reading them, obviously, there's a lot of heart behind them. There's a lot of, emotion and a lot of happiness with them too, because you can definitely tell, especially Justice League versus Kong versus Godzilla. Like you can tell how much fun you're having writing that.
Oh yeah. I mean, how can you not? Like, how can I not put Hal and Barry together to be like, a little married couple, talking shit to each other? How can I not try to come up with a interesting sort of hook with Superman and Lois and try to ground it in something emotional, right? Like, it could very easily be a throwaway. I didn't think it was going to be this successful, like selling out and each issue sold out and multiple printings and stuff like that. I had no idea it was going to resonate like that. But I'd like to think that it got really good word of mouth because, I cared about the story. I wasn't just, this wasn't just a paycheck. Like, I had the opportunity to pool all these resources, all these cool creative things, these IP, and make something cool out of it, and have you be in on the fun. Like, some of it's absurd, of course, but kaiju are gigantic creatures. Superman shoots lasers out of his eyes. Like
The whole
it's serious and
Not supposed to be serious. Like,
Yeah.
the stakes can be real, but you can also understand what it is and just sort of embrace that,
well,
Now
also,
you're saying how successful everything's been going with this. Is there any idea or inkling that there will actually possibly kind of maybe sort of be a sequel to series?
Conversations are happening. I know that there are parties that would like it to happen. So
write your congressman, people.
Yeah, right.
here's hoping.
Send your
I
letters
can't
to
wait
President Luther.
I can't wait till the first, so the whole did. I think it's gonna be so awesome to have that, and it's gonna be enormous because it's gonna be 210 pages of story.
Just pure awesomeness.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna be
this
amazing.
will be sitting on my coffee table as soon as that big old hardbound comes out. Just gonna go.
Yeah, I've been buying
Well,
every issue, but I'm also a sucker for just like getting all of them collected together
Sure.
in a trade and getting a read through. So I know for a fact. And actually, funny enough, my 8-year-old son, he's been, he's 2nd grade, so his reading's not the best. But this is the one comic book he will actually sit down and he will read from start to finish. And he picks up. He's in a massive Godzilla phase right now too, and so like he's
Not a bad place
big.
to be.
No, he's just wicked big into this entire run. So I gotta say thank you as a father who loves comic books. This is kind of like a bonding moment from him to I getting to sit there and read every month the Justice League versus Godzilla and Kong run.
Oh,
That's awesome. Well, that's awesome.
Really fun.
It really
That's
is.
great. I mean,
Really
I've even shared when I'm reading the books, I'm doing digitally. There's parts where I go, honey, look. And with yours, she knows the characters. She knows her Godzilla. She knows her Kong. She knows her Justice League. She is not just a nerdy woman. She is my nerdy wife. So she knows these characters. So seeing that, that you did at Soups, because I think we can talk about that now. She went, oh snap. And then I turn to the next page and I see big old bad boy Atom Smasher. I'm like, hello.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about this comic is like every time you turn the page, you're in for a treat. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to pop up, and you're legitimately in for a fun surprise. And it's going to be well drawn, very beautifully, visually gorgeous. And then you're going to have those fun quips, man. It's very lighthearted, and that's at the core of what superheroes and what kaiju are. That's what it's supposed to be about.
I agree,
Mhm.
and I think my stint on Injustice sort of helped me with that because that was my first experience dealing with so many multiple characters and really like Elseworlds, like having fun in the DC universe, right? And those books still sell. Like they're evergreen. People still find them, and
Yeah. Ken
Yeah.
Ken likes the Injustice a bit.
My wife
Yes, that
started
is one of
on
my favorite.
Injustice too.
Yeah, my favorite properties. Yes, I could rave about Injustice all day.
Yeah.
But obviously we've covered 3 books here for you. What future projects can we look forward to in 2024 for me?
So I'm lead writer on an interactive series, which is sort of like an animated series meets like a Telltale like Bandersnatch choice based thing. And so it's called DC Heroes United. It was announced at NeoCon.
Mhm.
And it's like this sort of interesting interactive merging of an animated series and like um, if you play like The Walking Dead or Telltale, like how you get
Yeah,
choices and then like
like
you
choose
have
your own
3 choices
adventure.
and yeah. So each episode you get like 4 choices. You watch the episode, there's 4 choices in it, and then you have a week to vote. And you're not playing or experiencing it yourself. You're part of a community, so everyone votes, like Robin live or die kind of thing, and it resolves
35.
in the next episode, and that becomes canon. So it's sort of like the idea of like you guys always wanted to control what happens in a story, and you think you can write it better. Well, here's your chance. Like you can shape who joins the Justice League. You can shape, is Lex Luthor going to be a hero or a villain? Like, is this person redeemable? The choices that you make, like there's a math equation to it, but like it drives these characters down a path that by the end of the story, the viewers are responsible for how it ends. And so
I love
it's
that.
been on the project for quite a while, and it's some learning because it's kind of a newish thing. But that's coming out next year. I signed a deal
We can
for
fix Guy Gardner.
Oh man.
potentially,
Oh my god.
or kill him. Maybe just kill him.
Equally as good.
Yeah, then I just signed a contract to do a book with Mad Cave and Matteo Manga, who was the artist in Chicken Devils Volume 2. So I don't know when that's coming out. We're having a
Okay.
kickoff meeting, I think, on Monday. But that one is kind of a action, fun. You guys will like it. I'll tell you more about it offline.
We know Mad Cave.
All right. We do know Mad Cave, and we're
We
gonna already just
do.
lock you in when that book comes out. If you're not back here sooner, we're definitely gonna be doing a turn a page about that book for you.
Fair enough.
So let's do
I
that.
appreciate you guys.
Oh, absolutely. And before we let you go, just a little fun way out the door. You did mention about Eli Manning and the Super Bowl. Obviously, we just had
Oh,
the game
man.
go down. What was your take from this past week's Super Bowl?
I think it's just a couple of key mistakes turned that game. I think there was.
It's
I
okay.
don't know,
You can
man.
say it. We're all glad the 49ers lost. As a Packer fan, thank God that team lost. We can say it.
I like Patrick Mahomes, so like I'm not like I'm a fan of either team, but I like Patrick Mahomes. I think he's a great quarterback. I like what he does. I like the way he quarterbacks. From my takeaway was like I was shocked that they let the clock run down for one play. Like that was like
Yeah.
the balls to do that. I was like, why are they calling timeout? And someone's like, well, they want the 49ers to reset their defense. I'm like, okay, I get that, but just run a play. Like what? Like you got taking one shot at it.
There was 3 seconds
the
left. I'm sitting there
Stones.
to my wife, like, why is there no timeout? Like, what are we doing?
The Stones, man.
Yeah.
That was wild. Wild. Yeah.
That whole game, the fact the 49ers stopped running in the second half still blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, look, like you had the freak punt that off the guy's ankle, like you couldn't account for that. But then you also had was it Pacheco?
Pacheco was
muffling,
fumbling. Mahomes threw an
Yeah.
interception. Like,
Yeah.
it's a game of inches, and there's a lot of opportunities. Really both
Some
ways.
say. Some say,
Yeah.
yeah. So as long as it's not
Hey, at least-
the Patriots winning, I'm good.
True. It's funny because
Amen.
I'm from Boston, but I'm not a Patriots fan. I'm every Boston sports fan besides the Patriots, and
Fair enough.
the happiness I could
We'll have some
experienced-
problems. I'm Yankees Knicks, so
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
we
Celtics-
don't move by
Celtics.
eye on
Let's
it.
go.
We're living
Sorry.
right now. Celtics right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you can
Yes.
see that. But,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
it's in
yeah.
New York
There we
City.
go.
Oh,
That's awesome,
okay.
dude.
That's
have
the
a-
one from 1970. So
Hold up. Where's that? We're not
Oh my
showing chess, but
God.
I got the B. So right there we go. So
Thank you. All right, fair enough. Okay, well, I also got Flash, right?
hey, I do too. We're showing tats. Hold on. I got
All
to
right,
show.
all right.
All right. Here we
But
go.
this is how you know I was destined
This is
to write this book. Who's that?
There we go. We got Flash, Aquaman, Batman. See,
Oh, man.
living. I
I,
can't.
I got
That's
my
an
Dicky
amazing
Power
feat.
Ranger tattoo, very specific one.
So
Extremely specific Ranger tattoo. How about
Fair
you,
enough.
Ken?
I've got nothing. I'll go find a
Turn into a tattoo off.
Yeah, I'll go find the root beer sticker there and put it on. That's all.
Don't
I
worry,
got.
I'll send you some sticking with the washcloth, and there you go, some temporary tats.
There you
Yeah,
go.
we'll
Next
have-
time he'll be all tatted up. Yeah, well, look at mine.
Yeah, I'll just have two sleeves on. We'll go from there. But Brian, thank you again for coming on. In the liner notes
Yeah.
of this episode, we will have links to make sure you go get Midlife, go get No One, go get Justice League versus Kong versus Godzilla, and how to get in touch with Brian on the social media because you definitely want to go follow him and go support these books.
The first issue for Midlife. Anyone recognize the reference for that cover? Very very recent reference. Super recent.
Oh God,
Ted Lasso?
I'm blank.
I don't know.
Yes, sir.
No.
it was Ted Lasso.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, that show is everything. That show is everything to me.
That's
Thank
a
you,
soccer
I'll be
ball.
here a week.
That would be just, yeah. So
That's
well done.
amazing. Good job, Tom. I'm
No,
proud of
like
you.
I
This is
say,
why you're the
it's-
pop culture connoisseur, my friend.
Yes. But like I say, you need to go pick these books up. You need to have them in your collection. You need to have an extra copy too to hand off to somebody because honestly, they are that good. Trust me, from somebody that buys them every time they drop. And
Yes.
like I say, go support Brian and everything he's doing, and especially with that Mad Cave book comes out. We're going to
Yes.
book that for this show right now, and we definitely have to have you come on and talk about that. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
anytime, man. Anytime.
No, thank you. And all right, so we'll just get out of here. Tom, how's the fine folks find out what's going on with you and everything off the cuff?
As the guy in the chair has already put it up here, off the cuff Tom, the pop culture connoisseur. You can find me right there at the QR code. Everything else going on the holy social medias, and follow that up. Don't forget to check me out in March. I will be at Syracuse Collectors Con with all my Power Ranger buddies, and it's going to be a good time.
All right, Matt.
Yeah, man, right there, over there, wherever my finger points. Yeah, next to Tom. See, that's where we're at. Every social media account, every podcasting platform, we're starting a new like live happy hour show. Lauren and I, like this Thursday, right after our Patton Oswalt interview. Because what is life? We're gonna be talking about the Deadpool trailer, for example, and then you can go ahead and find me at GalaxyCon Richmond. I will actually be having a panel on the history of Batman, and then at AwesomeCon. The week before that, I will be with Tony doing an MCU panel. So that's where you'll find me, and I'll be there.
Absolutely. And for me and anything going on with the ODPH, you can find out the QR code. We love QR codes here at Nerd Initiative. So you
do.
click on that, odphpodcast.com. 2 new episodes out. New comic book reviews are dropping. And if you want to talk comic book reviews, well, Nerd Initiative has you covered starting at 9 a.m. every Tuesday and Wednesday, the latest and greatest at the comic shops. If we don't have it on there, you don't need it in your collection, folks. I'm just going to put it out there.
I'm
'cause we are
doing
putting the
Justice
best of the
League
best.
and Kong next week. Can't
That's a
wait.
little bit of a spoiler. Yes, I have a feeling that might be leading off the coverage on Tuesday. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Because the books are that good. So if you want to find out what the Bullpen has to say about that, like we say, every Tuesday and Wednesday starting at 9 o'clock in the morning, every 15 minutes, you have new reviews dropping. So if you need to know what to pick up at the shops, we have you covered. And then with everything going on with Nerd Initiative streaming, there's a simple homework assignment that the guy in the chair puts up there. And that is to make sure you click on the subscribe button. Make sure to hit that bell notification to make sure you don't miss when episodes like this drops, and tap that like button because the bosses at Nerd Initiative love to see when you're liking the content. So we get more guests on, talk more comics, talk more pro wrestling like Wrestling Night Live every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the guy in the chair himself, Rich, and myself and Nick, our latest team member, because we have a lot to talk about WWE, AEW. Brian, do you follow any pro wrestling?
I did when I was much younger. I'm talking like Hulk Hogan, like Mr. Wonderful era.
Okay.
Ah,
Fair
yes.
So
Fair
I
enough.
had particular interest in the Iron Claw because my dad lived in Texas, so I watched Steve Von Erichs when I was a kid.
Oh yeah. I've not seen that movie yet, surprisingly.
Pretty good movie.
Very good.
Sadly,
movie.
not as strangely not as tragic as their life was. Even
Right.
there you
Yeah. If you know the story, man,
Good movie.
It's wild.
it's amazing.
Brutal. Yeah.
And then last, but certainly not least, anything Nerd Initiative, make sure to hit that QR code, contact Nerd Initiative, your home of pop culture positivity. We have a lot of stuff lined up for 2024, so you're going to be seeing a lot more reviews, a lot more content, a lot more fandoms, keeping it positive and keeping it all about growing a community that is centered around that pop culture positivity. That is what we do here at Nerd Initiative. So on behalf of everybody here, remember, when you're at the comic shops and you have a great issue in your hand, such as Midlife, such as No One, such as Godzilla and Justice League and Kong,
got that issue.
and you see somebody struggling to pick one up, hand it off to them. Tell them to turn a page. We'll see you guys next week.